Okay, this is following on from the previous video that I did looking at Scopus, and I wanted to show you what happens if we don't have a journal article. So let's go back. I put in hydroceratite as my search word, and there's a journal here called American Mineralogist, which is a good journal, but I know we don't have it. But anyway, you don't know this. Let's say you're coming along and you think, oh, this paper on basic lead phases is really interesting, so you click it. Then there's your abstract, so that's good, it's got a long abstract, and then you go link to full text. Then this is what you'll get. It says, unfortunately we don't appear to have access to this article. So at this point you can't really go any further. You can go back, you've got the abstract, you can request it on interlibrary loan, but that costs money, and so and in actual fact, at this stage, when you're doing a library search, then I would just stick to things that you can get. So, so have a good look at the abstract, because even if you don't get the full paper, you may well get the gist of it from the abstract. And if it's really something that you really think you should read, then maybe come and talk to us. So, so use Scopus, try and get some articles, try and get an idea when you do your literature review of why you're doing the work. So first of all, there's different whys, but one is, why are people interested in lead in tap water? What's the reason? What I wouldn't spend long amounts on is the health. So health is clearly the reason why people are interested in lead in tap water. But what I tend to find, what can happen with students, is that you then write pages of pages all about health effects of lead, and they talk about this part of the organ and that part of the organ. But you can keep it very short, because actually I want you, the most literature review, I want you to focus a little bit on the health, and maybe there's some health studies, particularly to do with Flint, but a little bit. But then I want you to talk about tap water, and about lead in tap water, and talk about lead water pipes and where they are. So I don't want reams and reams on health, even though health is really important. It's enough to know that it's maybe a bit more, but it's not healthy, and these are some reasons why. But a paragraph on health or something like that or two is adequate. You don't need any more than that. What I do want is to have some understanding of where lead pipes are, and a little bit perhaps about the water industry. And you're going to get more of this information from me as we do the projects, because myself and Tahir are going to do some little seminars. But if you come away from, let's say, using Scopus for a moment, let's go and just go over, let's try and get another tab. Right, let's write down lead in tap water and do this on Google. Okay, there's lots of information. Look, so there's some trusted sites. So for example, the EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency, and that's in the States, and I would say that's quite a trusted site. So you could look at that one. The CDC, I forgot who they are now, should know, Centre for Disease Control and Prevention. That's maybe something that you could have a look at. This is a US site, so just bear in mind that you'll find that the limits for lead in the US and in the UK are different. So in the UK they're 10 ppb or 10 micrograms per litre, whereas in the States they're 15 ppb or 15 micrograms per litre. And you might think, oh, the one in the UK, which is the same as Europe, is more stringent than the States. But not necessarily. The two limits have different numbers, but the way of sampling, the way of taking the water sample is different. So whereas the UK use what's called a random daytime sample, where you turn up at the customer's house and you take the sample then and there, the US uses a sample where they stagnate the water for a certain period of time. So although they have different numbers in the limits, and it looks like one's more stringent than the other, it's not necessarily the case. But I would look around, so what you can find, and particularly have a look at some information from some water companies. So here's one, Anglian Water, and it's got a little video of someone running the tap. Talks about lead in your tap water, so you can read this. We go back. There's other ones. There's something from the NHS. Thames water, for example. Here, does my water is there likely to be lead in my tap water? And you can have a look at this. And some people have a little diagram, so to help you. So I can't see one here. Checklist, something to do with replacing lead pipes. That might be useful to know. Download our lead fact sheet. Let's have a look at that fact sheet. Talks about lead. Oh, right, okay, so here there's a picture of a house. Now we'll go in a little bit. So quite a lot of websites have these pictures of houses, and they'll show you, for example, the blue is where the water goes in, and the little dotted line is the boundary of the house, and it's got a picture here. So let's go with the top one here. There's your mains pipe. This is in the street, usually under the road. So this here is the road in the pink. And then there's a little box in the pavement. That's your stop tap. So from the mains to the stop tap, that's what the water company owns. And then the blue bit is what you own, or rather the householder owns. So many of them will have little diagrams like this, and this is really useful. But if you are going to use the diagram, please say where you got the diagram from, and then don't do a rubbish screen capture, because it looks obviously rubbish when it's easier in the report. If it's better really if you draw your own diagram. You know, draw a picture. You can draw a picture of a house and put some lines on, or find a picture of a house. I don't know, but anyway, don't put a rubbishy picture in. So let's leave that one alone. Lead in tap water. Go back again. There's lots of different water companies in the UK. You maybe want to look at. There might be a map. There might be a list of water companies in the UK. Lead pipes are found in the UK. Why are they found? When were they put in? Do new houses contain lead? Is it just old ones? You could find that out. They're in the UK. They're in Europe. They're in the States. Lead pipes are in South America. People use lead pipes. Why did they use lead pipes? These are all information that you could find out, and by all means discuss them with me. And then what you want to do is you may be given the background to the lead issues, and then you want to talk a bit about the area that you've been given. So if you've been given, I'll return to again like hydroceracite, it's a crystal growth one. There's another one that I've given on crystal growth. You need to do a little bit of background reading on crystal growth, and if you're not sure, I'll be able to point you in some directions, and you might have a little look at what is a crystal, what is a mineral, that sort of thing. And then also you're doing lead minerals. So what are the lead minerals? What are the common lead minerals you can get? So you maybe have a look at some common lead minerals. And there are some sites, for example, this one, I'll get it now wrong in the right. Database of Raman spectroscopy, it's called. If I click into that, it's RRUFF, and you can put a mineral name like ceracite. These are all geological ones, minerals, so you can click on one and it gives you some data about it. So this data tells you the formula, and it's a mineral. You will get to look at some of these later in your project, but initially not. But this is this one here is a Raman spectrum, which we don't have the Raman, but we do have here an infrared spectra here of ceracite, and this one is the X-ray diffraction. So we do cover that. So this is information about the mineral, and by all means type in ceracite on Google, and there's a little picture of ceracite. So there's other information here, ceracite mineral data, web mineral, and it's got some pictures of ceracite. If you use any of these pictures, remember to reference them. And there's some information about the minerals down here. But these are geological minerals. The ones we're going to be doing, if you're doing that one, you're going to grow them from yourself, so they're going to be much, much smaller. Other ones, like another project we've got on zeta potential, you'll have to find your way. I think I've spoken to you about it. There's some good references for zeta potential, looking at from the zeta side, the people who make zetasizers. If you're doing filter ones, then have a look around for filters that claim to remove lead and so forth. But also look at Scopus to see what's been done before. Alright, so I hope I've given you some idea into a lead into what you're trying to do. But again, we use Yammer, have a discussion with me, come to my office and we can talk more. But we are going to have regular seminars.